Here, the biggest like local supporting stations I think are the university radio stations. Are you going to try and maybe like start with university type stations?
That goes without saying, because you have a student body that actually runs a radio station that actually comes in every 3 or 4 years, and they move on, and the philosophies, change, and so they're a good, breeding ground that people listen to. But the dominant, situations of corporate-run radio stations, they call themselves urban. And they call themselves urban for all kinds of like negligent, invasive reasons. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll play mostly voices, the voices that come out of black faces. And we kind of play this thing that we used to call black music, but we don't want to call it black music because we just want to be able to have carte blanche on selling this thing that we termed urban. If it was truly urban, then you would hear all kinds of faces and all kinds of ethnicities alongside of it. No, it was predominantly black and also actually conditioned to actually have an impact to make people think in a stereotypical way. We got to reverse that. And like I said, Occupy Free Air also means all stations. So if a country artist lives in Raleigh and they can't be heard because they playing Trisha Yearwood 85 times, it's like that country artist wants to be heard. Why? Because it's key for artists to be able to make a living in their home area. And then that will also spur little clubs and pubs and venues that say, you know what, we got people coming in that are familiar with this art base that's here. Everywhere we travel around the world, the art base actually is important to the city's makeup. You remove the arts from the city starts to collapse and say, okay, we got to rely on commerce and industry. And if you got that, that's in a shaky position. You got no art, you got no commerce, no industry, then all these other areas start to atrophy. So this is a spark we feel the right direction.
I have a question. After the tour, what way will you guys reach the media for the supporters to support Occupy Free Radio?
It'll be done online at occupyfreeair.com
Okay.
and also freedartist.com. FREED artist.com. No relation to Alan Freed.
All right.
And corp plantation is a new term, but I'm pretty sure we all understand that. It's the way to describe the artists that are stuck under the major auspices without calling them slaves. But if it's called a corp plantation, then obviously. But some people are happy to be called slaves, but that's what Minister Paul Scott talks about all the time. You have a gem right within your own reaches, so continue to let him bring the noise.
I have a question. My name is Ron McGurk from City Magazine. The question I have for you is comparing your music, your style of music, against other artists like Jay-Z, Rick Ross, and them. Do you think that like your instrumentals and beats will be able to coincide enough so that like the younger generation will be able to accept your music and actually be able to say, hey, Chuck D or Public Enemy, they cool to listen to now, are y'all gonna be like collaborating with like Lil Wayne or other artists like that to try to get your message across?
No, it won't happen. Well, I will tell you this much, it's not about us. It's not about us. We are taking the industry, and there's a million artists out there, and they might have the same musical aspect or point of view, and they might not. Music is music. What we're trying to get into is like people have been brainwashed by the repetitive nature of what the music is. A lot of music is just the same, no matter what. The styles are on top of it different. But maybe Griff can also add to that. But collaborations is not about Public Enemy, and we're in our lane to try to be able to go to those executives that y'all don't know, that y'all won't see, and the guys that women who will ever push the button that don't feel accountable to y'all at all. Really, seriously, other than LA and New York, North Carolina and Durham, to the major situations in those cities that control everything across this land and other aspects of the world, considers everybody in North Carolina country bumpkin consumers. You have no say-so whatsoever. You just better go and buy. Before we used to send you all to Walmart, but since they came down on that, we'll send you electronically to these other digital plantations. And you're going to follow us until day we disappear. So, you know, part of our goal is like, if you're gonna have that agenda, our agenda is actually to make you disappear until you come to some balance. You know, look, like I said, they fly over, drive through, or whatever. If Lil Wayne's gonna come to town and the town can't talk to him, if somebody's coming to rob y'all, hey, you know, if y'all can't figure in how you figure in the people coming to your town, then what are you here for? They come.
And then what would be the purpose for the collaboration?
Right.
I want to ask you, what would be the purpose for the collaboration? What would be the purpose to change the frequency of the music that had changed generations that got us into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? What would be the purpose to change the vibratory frequency of the music to reach that particular audience, to have to collaborate with a Jay-Z? And they collaborate on what level? Because they need to be educated. You understand what I'm saying?
Maybe to like raise your popularity. I mean, not say, of course y'all way got more status than that, but the kids are younger these days that are listening to hip hop. It's not the same generation that are listening to music now than it was before. So you got a lot of older guys that know exactly who y'all are, but someone that's 13, 14 years old.
No, we
that's
understand what you're
more
saying. So we've talked to the Kendrick Lamars and the Lupe Fiascos. It's best that we educate them because the one artist like Kendrick Lamar or Lupe Fiasco can influence an entire generation.
Mm-hmm. And they're being surrounded. And they're being surrounded by, I mean, because you know, they're being surrounded by the corrupt administration of it all. You know, and they have second guess, you know, or Wale are trying to figure out what should I do to reach the kids. Kids are only kids for 16 years. There's an undercurrent of a next group of kids that's looking at the ones that follow them as old. So, you know, there's some, matter of fact, generations have shrunk down to every 6, 7 years now. Like the 13-year-old ain't kind of like listening to what the 6-year-old, kind of like following what the 19-year-old, but they all kind of doing the same thing. We want to reverse that.
But it wasn't until I put Kendrick Lamar on the phone with my son that he got the lesson I was trying to teach him for 5 years. Kendrick Lamar did it in a conversation. I'm like, thanks, bro. I said, no, Griff, I listen to y'all. That's the collaboration.
Yeah,
But anyway.
Collaboration. Conversation.
Right.
You definitely won't be successful if you don't speak people's language. You know,
That's
and
true.
young people, you don't speak their language, you ain't reaching them.
Well, here's a case in point. We've seen it work all over the world. The United States is the one that's in has fell off in danger. Mm-hmm. You go down to Brazil and you're in front of 35,000 people on the same page. They got more black folks in Brazil, twice as many as the United States. Mm. You got to start asking questions. What fell off? And then if you know, like I said earlier in the conversation, if you don't start thinking global on how you can start plugging in, mm-hmm. Your local will your local will always be on a plantation in America. There is no way out of here unless you get your head out of here at least. You can't leave physically, your head at least got to be out of here in order to bring back in something that's reinvigorated for y'all. I'm serious. If you're going to cover culture in the United States, especially from a black standpoint, and you're going to be here in Durham or wherever, or Scranton, or Chicagoland as we call it now, you also got to come out there with an outside point of view to go back in and reinvigorate. You can't start swimming with the alligators and then expect all of a sudden, you know, like you're not going to get big. You got to come there aggressively and hard, and you got to just can't be afraid of the youth. I think for the last 15 years, it hasn't been the youth. You can't blame the youth for anything. It's those people 30 and 50 that have sold the young people out. Right. You know, program director sitting up, I had a conversation in South Carolina the other day. Program director sitting in Greenville. He already knows what he's done. He's got bosses that says you got to have this in your playlist. He can't play local artists. He can't have any local activity with the art community. He's got to go by numbers just to save his job. That's happened and metastasized across the marketplace for the last 20 years. The youth's fault, youths are being fed something. Mm-hmm. If they don't realize that, look, I'm I'm the man that's in front of the, or the woman in front of the button. They don't realize that, and it's not gonna change at all. Like I said, who's the program director of Hot 97 in Raleigh? Nobody, this is the media, and none of y'all know. We ain't gonna be here tomorrow. I'm catching the flight out of RDU, so I ain't gonna be here tomorrow. He will know about, or she will know about Occupy Free Air. And the first people they're gonna come crying to, is gonna come crying to y'all. Because it's going down, I'm telling you. It's going down. It has to be taken to DC. And DC doesn't mean it's gonna be a guaranteed win, but one thing we know guaranteed, that an artist that feels they ain't getting love home, he'll stand up for, or she'll stand up for themselves. Yeah, that sounds good. I need to get on the radio. Right. There's gonna be a bunch of people from the pimp rappers to the Jill Scotts of the world gonna be like, I don't need to get on my radio. It will balance itself out. There will be a standard in there. So yeah, you could get on in that 40% as an independent if you can't follow these guidelines. You can't sell poison in the hood and actually expect to get love by the hood. So you will be on the outside.
They feel that they can because they don't eat.
Right, exactly.
They constantly take.
Back in the day, there was always one song for the hood. That's one thing about classic, old school. He was always that one. He's too short to make a song for the hood. Everybody had that one song in the album for the hood. That's long gone.
Anyway, we have to get back to the sound. So you want to think about it unless. Good? All right. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to say one request, find out your program director and your music director, the location of the building, the social security numbers. I ain't saying hijack or do the KK on anybody, but I'm just saying, the ball is in your court. Y'all know who we are. If you don't know who they are, you're gonna be sitting doing the same thing, if not worse. And the mayor's gonna have another generation. And the quickest thing in this country they want to come up with is more prisons. Now, what's the prison conversation that they're having to use? They threw up their hands and said, "Less schools, more prisons." There, you know.
No, that's a whole thing. That's an interesting conversation. We're gonna find something. We're gonna find it out there. Let's finish. And, a good conversation. See where we go from here. Should have been some folks. Have a few things to say after this meeting writes about it. See where it goes. All right. But I guess I do need to present you to the city and.
Can we get you all to stand
Yeah.
and all together, please?